Here, let's jump into Psalm 12 through 14, and I, have at times said, well, there's, directions here. So this one has directions, and for the director of music, according to Sheminith, a Psalm of David. And I'm like, what in the world is that mean? So I did go look it up. Okay, now it's going to give me an ad on the page. It says 8 octave, a musical term, supposed to denote the lowest note sung by a man's voice. So this is supposed to be sung in as deep a voice as you possibly can. Well, I won't be singing, but that's interesting to know that this is intended to be a bass or baritone, or I don't know, whatever's lower, song, as low as you can sing it. So, interesting. So let's jump in. So 12 is what we have here, and all of them seem to be short this time, which is kind of nice at times. So that'll help us make up some stuff that I did not get done. So, help, Lord, for no one is faithful anymore. Wow. Kind of just end it right there and say he wrote the most timeless psalm ever. No one is faithful anymore. Yeah, it sure seems that way in life, doesn't it? Those who are loyal have vanished from the human race. Everyone lies to their neighbor. They flatter with their lips, but harbor deception in their hearts. Just, mic drop all over this. He's got it. He's nailed it. This is life. May the Lord silence all flattering lips and every boastful tongue. Not that there are any on television, or will there be any coming up in the next couple of weeks. No boasting going on for the next 2 weeks, I'm sure of that. Those who say, but by our tongues we will prevail. Our own lips will defend us. Who is Lord over us? Because the poor are plundered and the needy groan, I will now arise, says the Lord. I will protect them from those who malign them. And the words of the Lord are flawless, like silver purified in a crucible, like gold refined 7 times. You, Lord, will keep the needy safe and will protect us from the wicked who freely strut about when what is vile is honored by the human race. That's another summation there, where who freely strut about when what is vile is honored by the human race. Yeah. So Jock, it's Yuck, I've been here. Says the start of Psalm reminded you of Proverbs 20, verse 6. Many a man claims to have unfailing love, but a faithful man who can find? Oh, yeah, that's really good. I was thinking more in terms not of individuals more recently, but more just thinking of, stuff going on with the boasting and blunder or blusteriness around Russia and Ukraine. This certainly all falls into, or the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks, and both teams and both cities and both fan bases are all going to be boisterous and braggadocious and claiming that they're the ones, and that kind of thing, of the vileness. But what gets lost in a little ways in that side of it is who it's in juxtaposition to is the poor are plundered and the needy groan. So it's just a groaning. That's all that they get to do, or all that's motioned by them. In comparison to the braggadocious nature and the flattering lips and the boastful tongues that we have up in verse 3, the poor and the needy just kind of, that's it. That's the extent. So in comparison, their voice is tiny and not heard, except by God. And that's kind of the point. So, and so there is the desire here for them to be heard, and there is the claim that in 7 that you, Lord, you keep the needy safe and you protect us forever from the wicked. Psalms are great in that they express such great depth of emotion. They use such, I think, such great imagery to help capture emotion. And then they're filled with a promise within there, or a claim to hold on to, and so that's what's going on there. So let's move to the next one. It looks like it's a little bit shorter here. So a Psalm of David for the music director. So no particular instructions on how to sing this one or what instruments to use. So, how long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? How long will my enemy triumph over me? We've been reading in Job. Boy, this certainly could have been a Psalm of Job. I mean, this sounds like how long have you forgotten me? How long are you hiding your face? I wrestle with my thoughts day after day and have sorrow in my heart. That sounds very close to some of the language Job was using. I think he was perhaps a little bit harsher in his descriptions. But look on me and answer, Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep in death, and my enemy will say, I have overcome him, and my foes will rejoice when I fall. But I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me. So he starts out with this whole set of how long, and you forgot me, and where are you at, and here's my trouble, woe is my trouble, my enemies are going to be braggadocious, see Psalm ahead, previous Psalm, and I have not been able to be overcome. I'm going to be overcome, but I trust you. You've been faithful, so I know you've got this. So there's this reality of his emotion, reality as he sees the world around him, and yet putting his faith in God. And I think that's one of the things that is why Psalms are so beloved by so many people, is the fact that they speak to the reality of our emotion. They speak to what we see in the world around us, and we have something of hope to cling to in the midst of them. So, all right, we're on to our last psalm for today, Psalm 14. Again, for the director of music. Oh, yeah, you agree. That does sound like something Job could have said. Yeah, it does kind of sound very similar. And the fact that it's really short in nature, too. It's just kind of like, here I am, and I only have, I can't say more because the words just escape me. It also could be, similar to the one before where the poor and the needy they just groan, and that just kind of, that psalm just kind of sounded like a groan. So, our last psalm this morning for the director of music of David. So again, just not much instruction, just letting us know it's for or of David. The fool says in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, their deeds are vile, there is no one who does good. I I don't know if you've ever had this thought, and maybe this is interesting to think about. I think that this psalm almost feels, if you go back historically, out of place. It's almost as if this psalm was written for the future. And one reason I say that is, think historically, was there a group of people throughout history that were atheists? I I have not. I mean, I'm a history person and studied a lot of history. I don't know of any group of people that, as a people group, were atheists. So the fool says in their heart, there is no God. Uh, what is he talking about? Is he talking about people who are atheists? Now, I had an experience when I was, um, doing some street evangelism in Europe with some people from the church there, and going around talking, and we had translators, and boy, one of them just was baffled by the fact that there was an atheist. They couldn't comprehend how somebody could be an atheist. Well, you have to believe in something and somebody. And if you look back through history, they would have had, well, my gods or your gods or other people's gods, and there would have been gods there. Now, I get that what he's really saying is they act in their heart as if there's no God, as if they're not going to get caught, as if they can get away with things. Uh, but to truly believe that there isn't actually a God, I think you have to almost come to the last couple of 100 years to have people truly believe that 100%. So just interesting side thought there. Think about that for a while. The fool says in their heart there is no God. Not my God's the right God and yours is a fake God. Not God's not, he's a deist and he, put the world in motion and he's hands off, but there was a creator. I mean, that's still believing that there's a God. Yeah, the timelessness of God's word that applies through all human generations. It's amazing how that happens, or even how it can be written to a time and place where it's true and become more true throughout time. So, all right, enough about that, but just an interesting thought that I've had for a while, and I thought I'd share that this morning. So the fool is who it's talking about here in the second half. They are corrupt, their deeds are vile, there is no one who does good. The Lord looks down from heaven on all mankind to see if there are any who understand, any who seek God. That sounds like the circumstance of the setting of Job. That's interesting. This section here could apply to Job. All have turned away, all have been corrupt. There is no one who does good, not even one. Well, there it strays from Job, because in the beginning of Job it says Job is righteous. So this sounds then more like the descriptions that we read a few weeks ago in Genesis before the flood. Do all these evildoers know nothing? They devour my people as though eating bread. They never call on the Lord, but there they are, overwhelmed with dread, for God is present in the company of the righteous. Okay, it just said none do good. Where did the righteous come from? You evildoers frustrate the plans of the poor, but the Lord is their refuge. Oh, that salvation for Israel would come out of Zion. When the Lord restores his people, let Jacob rejoice and Israel be glad. So, interesting psalm here in that there is not this big promise to hold on to, other than for God is present in the company of the righteous. That's it. That's kind of it. And then there's this hope at the end, or claim at the end. The corrupted has followed. Thank you for the follow, friend. Thank you for being in here. Thanks for joining us today. So Yaakov Ben Hir says that this reminds you of 2 Chronicles 16:9. For the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. You have done a foolish thing, and from now on you will be at war. Oh yeah, that does have a similarity. The eyes of the Lord searching and the foolish. Yeah, the fool aspect there. Um, and yet, in the midst of this, you can say this looks like, this feels like where you live or the world around or watch the news, and then the cry of the heart. Oh, that the salvation of Israel would come out of Zion. When the Lord restores his people, let Jacob rejoice and Israel be glad. So there's that hope that the psalmist has here. So not as much in the sense of emotions that we had in some of the others. This is more of a psalm directed outward, not directed at the psalmist themselves having this feeling, but more looking at the world around. So, all right, so those are our psalms for today. So this would have been, if you are following along with us in the Read Through the Bible in a Year, this would have been Saturday's reading. I'll go back to the chart here. So Saturday would have been Psalm 12 to 14. So we're doing a little makeup this morning. I'll cross that out. And now we'll move on to Matthew 11 through